Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In today's lecture, we're going to do event bubbling and event delegation. So before I start reading this, I want you to create this lecture, create the class equal body inside the body, and link it here. Okay. Now you don't have to worry about this writing because you're going to have it in your final ones. Now, first things first, I want to do this lecture a little bit different. So I'm going to write whatever I have to write, and then when I start executing the events, then I will start reading and explaining, because that will be pretty much more easy for anyone to understand. Okay, the first one, I want to select a couple of things. I want to select this add button, I want to select the entire header, and I want to select the body. And that's why we're going to create DOM selectors here. Okay, now var add btn, okay, document, you already know how to do this, document.querySelector, and you say add btn. Very good. The second one, just copy this 2 more times, and the second one will be the header, and make sure that you change here the header, and the last will be the body, and make sure that you add the class body here. Okay, very good. Now we will add event listeners, and the event listeners will be from type click on all of these selectors. Okay, I'm gonna start with the body, so body dot add event listener, and it will be from a type click, and let's put the function here. It will be an anonymous function, it's all good, and we can pass the event if we want, not this. Okay, and let's say console log body. Oops, copy this one, do it 2 more times. We need one for the header, and change it here to header, and one for the add btn and add button. Okay, so they're from type click, and we add event listeners. Now let's test this one out. So if I hit this add button, it will go here and it will run this event listener. It will fire this one, then it will fire the header, then the body. Why is this happening? Because I didn't click the, make sure that you put semicolons here. I didn't click any of these 2 here, but they're still executed. So bubbling, when an event happens on an element, for example, like this one, it first runs the handler on it, and that was the first one, add btn, right? Then on its parents, the handlers on their parents, the listeners, right? Then all the way up to their ancestors until it reached this HTML element. So everything that we have here, so it will run this one, then its parents, and then this will go to the body because the header is a child of the body. So the body is the parent of the header. Okay, this is why this bubbling event happens, and this happens for a reason. We don't need to stop it. We need to just delegate this one. So this is classical example of having a problem here. These list elements, this unordered list is very messy. We have the same class name, okay? And this will be ideal for doing the event delegation. And also when we click here on this one, right? Here it's fired the body. So when we click on this one, what it should happen, it should delete this item. But the thing is that we can't just do it like that because we have the close class everywhere inside this list elements. And the way the event delegation works is instead of putting the adding the event listener on the individual list elements, well, we're going to put it on the parent, and then we are going to do what? Instead of adding the event listener on the element, we can just add it to the other element or the parent of that element, and from that parent we can find the element we are trying to manipulate, right? So we can find this one. We know how to traverse the DOM, and that's pretty much it. So instead of letting this to bubbles up on everywhere, we're just gonna contain this one here. Make sure that, understand this one as a container. So you put that one inside the parent, and the parent will contain its child, not to bubble up. Okay, now that is pretty much done. Comment out this part. Let's do one more thing. So that was event bubbling, and this will be event delegation. Now, what is the idea here? Is to put it on the parent, and I want this to create today this functionality. When we click here, just to delete this one. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? Well, first things first, we need to grab the unordered list, and that one is document.query selector, and we do have actually my unordered list ID. Now, if you want to use class, just add a class here. Class, like this. My UL, oops. It won't change anything because I don't have it in the CSS, right? Still works the same. So instead of doing this, you can target with .myul, nice. So that is pretty much it. Now here, I want to add event listener on the parent. So add event listener, where? To the parent. So I'm gonna say click here, and let's create a function called remove item, and function, now it will give me the reference error. Function remove item, it will have the access to the event object, and let's console.log the e.target. Okay, so if I click here, now I will have the list element, but if I click here, I will have the span element, and that's not ideal, right? Because I want to delete an item when this one is clicked, okay? And we should do this. So how we are going to tackle this? So not when I click on the list element, but when I click on the span element, I want something to happen. So let me just clean this one up. So we can use, actually we can find when this is clicked by the class name, and the class name here of this span is called close. So we can target that easily. So saying if, or just console log e.target .class name, make sure that we are going to put inside the if statement, right? Because we need to check if this e.target class name is equal to close class. So if that is equal, console.log deleting the item. Very good, save it. Now let's see what will happen. Refresh here, you don't have to refresh, by the way. So deleting the item, and this one is coming from the target. Make sure that you comment that one out. So we're deleting the item, we're deleting the item, deleting the item. Of course, it's gonna work. So that is the one way, but it's not ideal way. For example, in future, if you add another class called wow here, another class, maybe you want to style the span a little bit differently, right? Maybe you don't want to be like this, but you want to retain some of this here, but you just want to change the color or add a box shadow, it doesn't matter. So let's see if it's going to work like that. So I added a class called wow on the first, and let's see what's happening. Oh, nothing is happening. Why? Because this way of doing things using the class list is not ideal. Class name, sorry. Class name. Okay, so that will be number one, and it will work if you have only one class. But if you have multiple classes, then we should use another one that we have already covered, and that is called, ladies and gentlemen, what? The class list. And the class list has access to one method called contains. And by the name, you can just guess what we'll do. So this method, we will put the class inside, and basically what we are saying, okay, check if this element that we're trying to delete contains the class close. Maybe it can contain 10 other classes, but we don't care about that. just care if it contains the closed class. And that should work now. Yep, there you go. It will work for this one. It will work for this one, for this one. It will not work if we click here. See, we don't have any numbers if we click on the list element. But if I click here, then I get a new number. Nice. So our logic is working. So class list is very powerful if we have additional classes here. Same as here, for example, this one. You can't use class name because the second li will not work because it has two classes inside. Okay, so how are we going to tackle this? Now from here, it's very easy. We just need, let me just console log again, the target. Okay, now if I click here, the target is the span class, but what we're actually trying to delete is this entire one. Why? Because the span is a child of the list element. Now, how are we going to get the parent? Cool. Parent element. Now let's see. Very good. If we click here, nothing is happening. Click here again, it's working. So we have the parent now. Doesn't matter here. We have two classes, but we don't care about that. So I'm just gonna comment out this one because I want you to know the steps how we came up to this solution. And this we will use the remove method, and pretty much we're done for it. So let's test one first with this. We have two classes here, checked an element, right? And let's see if it's gonna work. Boom, it's working. Now, we're not using any storage here, right? We're not using anywhere, we're not saying whatever you're gonna delete not to be shown here because this is hard coded, it's coming from here. Every time I refresh, I will have the same output, right? So don't confuse that. And please don't say it's not working. It's working, but we're not just doing it. We're not storing this information somewhere. Okay. Now, as a homework, I want you to do this class element. I want you to find a solution. How when I click actually on the list element, I can toggle this class. So that is your homework. And it's very easy. You'll have everything. Now, what I want you guys to do, and by the way, we have done the event delegation. Why? We put the event listener on top of the parent, and we just find the child that we want to delete. How cool is this? Instead of putting the event listeners directly to the child, and after that, to let this element to bubble up. Now, if you want to read more about here it is, click element, saying bubbles. Yep. Now, if you want to read more about the events, you visit this page again, MDN, and say events bubbling, and you can get more information. Okay, so read it. There are different things, please, and yeah, that will help you a lot, right? So if you go back to the event, if you Control F or Command F, bubbling, here it is, event bubbling and capture. It will go here. It will give you a lot of information. I want you to read this. The capturing, explain, there is a graphical way, right? Because it goes to the parents, it goes to this parent, the parent of the parent, and that is how the bubbling is doing. Now, there's a one way we can do stop propagation, and I want you to read about this, right? Don't worry about at this stage, but we can do the event, we can stop the propagation, but yeah, that will be in the future. So, as a homework or exercise, just please find a way. When I click this, I want to toggle this class. I want to be adding and removing this check class, right? That class, by the way, it's coming from where? From the, actually we don't need this. We're just trying something, guys. And checked class here. Okay, that's coming from that class. So if I remove it from here, save it, now you're not gonna see that check class. Okay, beautiful. Now I will see you in the next lecture. I hope you understand this. Read it again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.